confidence, power, levels. Are you just saying words from a new level? No. Strength, walking, walk, rise, other powerful sounding words. It's been far too long since last I did a classic album review, and I'm back with Pantera's classic Vulgar Display of Power. Okay, very quickly before I get started, anyone who is still interested in the 1,000 subscriber competition, follow the link up there to the corresponding video that will explain all. If you can't see that for whatever reason, there'll be a link in the description, and yeah, do that. Now, as we all know, Vinnie Paul tragically passed away. I think it'll probably be best part of 2 weeks ago now by the time this comes out. 14 years after the tragic shooting and killing of his brother Dimebag Darrell on stage. Shook the world, the metal world at least. Fuck you, William Grimm. I've always been a bit skeptical in doing like tribute videos. It just feels a bit I wonder who benefits from them. But I thought it was a good excuse to get back on the map with the classic reviews, and Vulgar Display of Power is one that I fully intended on doing anyway. In fact, I intend on at some stage reviewing all of the albums, Pantera albums from Cowboys from Hell onwards. Let's be honest, the stuff with Terry Glaze and power metal, yeah. Witty bits, I'm filming all this footage just for witty bits. Vulgar Display of Power was released on February the 25th, 1992. And I remember the buzz around that album as well. How fucking old I am. When you're feeling shitty, it's not quite so witty. 1990's Cowboys from Hell was the album that put the band on the map. Ugh. But it would be Vulgar Display of Power that truly cemented them as metal legends. 2 years later they'd release Far Beyond Driven, which would go in at #1, but it's Vulgar Display of Power that I think most people quite rightly see as their classic album. Heavens to Murgatroyd! On the Cowboys from Hell tour, the band toured relentlessly. They toured with Suicidal Tendencies, Exodus, and got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity by Rob Halford himself to open for Judas Priest on the entirety of the I think it was the European leg of the Painkiller tour. But there was a couple of things that happened on that tour. Heavens to Betsy! First of all, everyone became aware of their incredible live shows, the incredible physical performance. Phil Anselmo, of course, doing his Henry Rollins-esque frontman job, and the Van Halen-like metallic ability of Rex Brown, Vinnie Paul, and Dimebag Darrell, then going under the moniker of Diamond Darrell, and Rex Rocker, I believe, for Rex. But Phil especially wanted to get even heavier and heavier and heavier. And I think after touring with heavier bands, more than ever he wanted to be playing harder and heavier material. Something else that would inspire the band to go heavier was the release of Metallica's 1991 album, The Black Album. Obviously one of the biggest, certainly hard rock albums of all time, as Metallica had distanced themselves from their thrashier sound. Pantera saw that gap that was to be filled for a heavier sound, and they would definitely own that. It's safe to say that when metal was at an all-time low in the 90s, Pantera were the band that really flew the flag for true heavy music. Really, really heavy music. They pretty much got heavier with each album. The album was produced by Terry Date, who also worked with White Zombie and Soundgarden, and he would go on to work with them on Far Beyond Driven and the Great Southern Trendkill. By all accounts, Vinnie Paul was present very heavily as well during the recording of the album, very instrumental in the production side of things. The production of the album is also one of the major factors into why it's such a standout album. The songs were there, of course, you've got to have good songs. You can't replicate that sort of thing. But this one really pushed metal production forward. To this day, you still get people trying to replicate those drums. Dime's guitar tone in particular is replicated to this day. Other than a couple of songs, they actually pretty much wrote all of this in the studio because they really wanted to capture that live vibe. They pretty much lived and breathed the band at this point. Part way through the recording as well, the band would go to Moscow. There was a documentary made about it, and you can see a lot of the footage as well also on the Pantera Vulgar video stuff. Great performances. Domination in particular is just a standout, sounds so good. But they performed to pretty much a sea of people, and they must have just come back with this huge amount of confidence in themselves after such a performance and seeing where they were going. Fucking awesome. The title of the album itself was actually taken from a line from The Exorcist. And then of course we have the cover of the album. Unforgettable image. Because that guy being punched straight in the face. Apparently the band wanted something vulgar to reflect not just the title but the punch to the face that the album would deliver sonically. Ugh. Brad Juice was the guy who actually did the photography, and he actually took the front cover shot as well for Cowboys from Hell. Just get my breath back a touch, and then we'll get into some songs, shall we? We'll actually talk about some music for a fucking change. How's about we do that? Talk about some fucking music, that'd be nice. An actually fucking album review. Waffling shit. Waffling shite, talking shite all night, waffling shite. Okay, fuck it, let's not muck around, let's get straight into the songs. Opening track, Mouth for War. Wow, fuck yeah. This was the first Pantera song I ever heard. I've got to say as well that I actually probably found it a bit too heavy for me at the time. I loved the opening riff. That opening riff got me straight away. Apparently Phil Anselmo actually wrote that riff. But he kind of showed Dime what he was thinking, and Dime put his magic on it, and that's where you get what you got. Just coming out of my Metallica and Megadeth phase at that point. Not quite ready for the harsher stuff. For my young tender ears, I was such a sensitive child. Anselmo actually stated in an interview that this was all about channeling negativity into something positive. Hence the line, when I channel my hate to productive, I don't find it hard to impress. It has to be said that Phil's lyrics at this point were just so empowering. So many of the songs on this album are about overcoming weakness, or from rising up from oppression, or having had enough and just fighting back. And his lyrics on this album were pretty much his best. I don't think he ever topped them. I mean, I love a lot of the later Pantera stuff, but his lyrics on this album were just so goddamn full of optimism, really. As heavy and aggressive as the album is, there's just an optimism that runs through it as well. A New Level is up next. What a fucking great song this is. I'll never forget first hearing that riff. Fuck man, so heavy, but so groove laden as well. That's what set Pantera apart as well. They were really the pioneers of groove metal. But in my eyes, no one really did it as well. Just so heavy, but just had that real groove. Pretty fucking far from groovy. Much like Mouth for War, this is another song about empowering yourself and overcoming obstacles and not taking shit off people anymore. The band were truly on fire at this point. Absolute total confidence in themselves. Now a new look in my eyes, my spirit rise. Forget the past. Present tense works and lasts. Got shit on, pissed on, spit on, stepped on, fucked with, pointed at by lesser men. And then of course that chorus. A new level of confidence and power. Fucking great. I listened to this song over and over. Today it still stands up as well. Great riffs from Dimebag plus his leads. Great playing from Vinny on this one. Is that how it goes? Ding 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 ding. That's just the riff done in a drum tone, you twat. Next up, Walk. I mean, come on. What an absolute classic. Who does not know this fucking riff if you're a metalhead? And just showing just how possible it is to just be so simple. One string. Bended note. Classic riff. It makes you want to walk. It does. Phil said about this song, this was take your fucking attitude and take a fucking walk with that. Keep that shit away from me. Apparently this was directed at people, friends of the band, who treated them differently when they came back from the Cowboys from Hell tour. They thought it had gone to our heads like we've got this rock star thing embroidered across our faces. Run your mouth when I'm not around. It's easy to achieve. You try to weak friends that sympathise. Can you hear the violin playing your song? Those same friends tell me your every word. You dirty bastard. Next up we got another Stone Cold classic, fucking Hostile. So many of the songs in this album would would go down as some of their best of their career, and again, just instantly recognisable. Real thrash riff from Dimebag. There was so little fat on this album. Everything was just stripped down and just fucking raw and like, just go. Primal. Lyrically speaking, this is Phil pointing out the hypocrisy by establishments, authoritative figures. The truth in right and wrong, the boundaries of the law. You seem to miss the point, arresting for a joint. You seem to wonder why hundreds of people die. You're writing tickets, man. My mum got jumped, they ran. Now I'll play the public servant, to serve and protect by the law and the state. I'd bust the punks that rape, steal and murder, and leave you be. If you crossed me, I'd shake your hand like a man, not a god. There's some great lead playing from Dimebag on this one as well. Just frenetic, just frenzied, just fucking great. Next up is This Love, another classic. This is a ballad, or pretty much as close as you're likely to get to a ballad from Pantera. Starts out with clean guitar and more reflective singing from Phil. It's worth pointing out that Phil Anselmo, certainly back in those days, had an incredible range. His register has gone down a hell of a lot over the years since doing more of the heavy stuff. I don't know if he could pull it off so well nowadays, but back then his range was incredible. According to an interview, Phil Anselmo said that this song was about clingy women. At the time, young ladies. I was a very young man when I wrote that song as well. I was young and I thought, let's not make more of this relationship than need be. If ever words were spoken, painful and untrue, I said I loved, but I lied. In my life, all I wanted was the keeping of someone like you. As it turns out, deeper within me, love was twisted and pointed at you. The verses are all cleanly sung and done with the chorus effect on the guitar. Then the heavy riffs really kick in on the chorus. But it's the outro riff on this is just heavy as fuck. Jun 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 jun. Trying not to look like a weirdo. And rather fittingly, as I'm starting my ascent, the next song is Rise. This is a song essentially about having pride in yourself and unity with all. There's been a lot of things that have gone on with Phil Anselmo over the years, a lot of things that have been said, some of them very unfortunate. But I've always seen these lyrics as completely the opposite of that. All about unity, about standing together and actually rising against the ignorant, not being one of them. Yeah, on this album, Phil's lyrics were truly one of unity and standing together. Taught when we're young to hate one another, it's time to have a new reign of power. Make pride universal so no one gives in. Turn our backs on those who oppose. Then when confronted, we ask them the question, what's wrong with their mind? What's wrong with their mind? I'm not going to shout that out in a tranquil countryside setting. I'm sorry. I know it's metal and all, but it doesn't mean we have to do it loudly. One of the great friendships that the band struck up, or should I say Dimebag in particular, was with Slayer's Kerry King. Dimebag was always fully immersed in the glam rock side of things, of course ZZ Top, Van Halen, all those incredible bands. But it wasn't until Phil introduced him to some more underground music. But after hanging out with Kerry King many times, I think Dimebag in particular really started to appreciate the nuances of thrash and those heavier riffs, and they really play a part on Rise. The riff on this is just relentless right the way through. So goddamn good. After the relentless thrash onslaught of Rise, we return back to a more groove laden. No good, Attack the Radical. Fucking love this song. And again, another anti-racism song. A few people have tried to, quite a lot of things online, people trying to reanalyze the lyrics since obviously the Dime Bash incident, which we won't go into. Trying to say that this is actually, what was it called? Dog whistle racism. Say it pointing out a message to only those who can hear it. Oh, appropriately enough, a bunch of dogs. But again, I don't think so. In the States, there's a problem with race because of ignorant past burn fires. From evolution, we've been killing each other. I figure man should have it down to a science. I think this is more just pointing things out as they are. I think this is more Phil's way of saying that this way of thinking, oppressing each other, fighting each other, is no good for no one. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe that's just me putting my own delightfully positive spin on things. Great fucking tune. Why did I say it like that? Just such a groove on this song. Just got a real feel to it. I haven't said enough about Rex and Vinny, but what a phenomenal rhythm section they were. Wow. A lot of times you don't hear Rex that much in the songs because he's a hell of a lot of the time he's just doubling what Dime's playing. But the precision with which he does it is quite good. If I go that way, it's where all the people fucking go. Bullshit. Oh, hi. Hi, I'm a person. How are you? Fuck off. Next up, Live in a Hole. Wow, 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 wow. That's probably my least favourite song on the album, this one. That's not to say it's a bad song. From what I work out on this, is pretty much about dealing with depression and anxiety. That feeling of being in a hole and just being excluded. Self-exclusion, maybe. Anyone who gets depressed can relate, am I right, guys? Live in a hole but stay close to my kind, because they understand what burns in my mind. I still feel incomplete, my friends are few and far between. My fear grips the will of stone, my grip fears I'll die alone. Amongst all this empowerment, these empowered lyrics that we get on this album, we still get this one bit here that you know, you get the moments, man, where you just fucking plunge, fall into that hole, and it can be tough to drag yourself out, it can be tough to see, it can be tough to see the good side sometimes. But it's there, but it's there, my friends, I promise you. How fucking gorgeous is this? Been working all day, now this. How beautiful. My Fitbit has just informed me that I've done my walk for the day. Isn't that nice? Ooh. Next up, a fucking great song, Regular People, Conceit. This is pretty much about people pretending to be something they're not. There's so many people trying to pretend they're badass when they're not. I remember when I was a kid, I used to wish I was Phil Anselmo. God, I'm not. I'm not. That idea that you're just trying to pretend to be a tough guy, or, well, I suppose it's just being a tough guy, just pretending to be anything that you're not really. I fight for love of brother, your friends fight one another. You can't see because it heads up your ass, and just in case you think you're bad, I crush your rush, I rule, you fool. Immovable stone in your world of weak. I love that last bit. Immovable stone in your world of weak. How fucking great is that? Most regular people would say, it's hard, and any streetwise son of a bitch knows, do not fuck with this. Penultimate track by Demons Be Driven. I love the opening riff drum pattern on this one. Digga 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 den, digga 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 den. Wow! Digga 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 den, digga 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 den, da 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 da. Just the whole band locked in together. So tight, so fucking awesome. People are walking this way. People are walking this way. I cannot stand this on this day. I cannot stand on this day. I really love what Phil does with his vocals on this one. I just love the kind of cadence, the pattern that he uses on the vocals there. I'm not sure if was I pointing the camera away then. Fuck's sake, I hope not. I think this song is kind of about young people being turned off by religion, maybe, or not buying into it, or having it forced down their throat. I'm not sure. If you don't know these things, don't say. I did try and research it and I didn't get anywhere. My inferior brain didn't allow it in. No. not having it. Serving the faith, abduction the oath. It lie in wait for the offering. Religion is old for drying the young. Purity withers and dies. Never return to the ones that provided. Children draining parents of will. I hold out my hand to a bloodless child. I'm taken by the one I was saving. By demons be driven! Beckon the call, 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 beckon the... I'm in long grass with shorty shorts. Things may bite in this land of the adder. Final song on the album is Hollow. Real classic. This quite often, the back part of the song was quite often done in a medley with Domination at live shows for years. Starts out with his twin harmonied guitar by Dimebag. I started too high. I had nowhere to go. There's some great vocals from Phil on this one. Really impassioned vocals. There's been a lot of debate as to what or whom that this song was written about. This was actually not based on any one particular person. This was actually based on 3 separate people whom he'd known when he was younger, who all committed suicide. Not together, it wasn't a... I'm not sure that they necessarily knew each other. But one of them was a guy called Mike Hatch, by a New Orleans band called Shell Shock, who Jimmy Bower and Kirk Winstein were in with. And he was a big guy on the scene. Apparently he killed himself, along with some other people that Phil had known who'd taken their own lives as well. So this song, I think, is kind of a culmination of people he'd known and just that despair of depression just getting you, I suppose. Fuck, man. What's left inside him? Don't he remember us? Can't he believe me? We seemed like brothers. Talked for hours last month about what we want to be. I sit now with his hand in mine, but I know he can't feel. Very heartfelt lyrics, man. There's another great solo from Dimebag. I mean, goddamn, his playing is so soulful, so blues inspired. I mean, he just... There's a difference between people who are just technical and people who truly feel. And Dimebag was definitely one of those players who he felt. You could feel that emotion in his playing. So inspired, especially on this album. But then things get really heavy for the outro of not just the song but the album. He is hollow as I alone, a shell of my friend, just flesh and bone. There's no soul, he sees no love. I shake my fists at skies above. Mad at God, mad. Now, after the release of this album, the band would truly go stratospheric. They did huge tours with Skid Row, White Zombie, Soundgarden. Far Beyond Driven had a lot of great stuff on it, and it would go in at #1, but that was off the back of just how phenomenal this album was. The band, of course, would go on to just get bigger and bigger until their untimely demise, and whenever I think of Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power is the album that I think of. So many great songs on it. Passionate playing, ultimate confidence, a band at the top of their game and knew they were. They knew it. You could feel it in this album. All the performances are just so well done. Every band member is just absolutely so fucking on it. The album would go on to multi-platinum status all over the world and is quite rightly regarded not just as their classic album, but an absolute must-hear album for any self-respecting metalhead. Such a great album, and it still stands up all these years later. Was it 92? Was it 25 years now? Fuck. Jesus. God, I'm so fucking sick and tired of how old I am. But naught can be done for that. So yes, there you go. Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. That's my classic album review. Don't know whether I did it any justice or not, but fuck it, gave it a go. God bless Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul as the winds blow. As if to say, yes. Yes, God bless them. Back together once again. And I'd like to dedicate this video to their honour. It's all I can do. My next classic album review will be Mastodon's Leviathan. That should probably be coming out next week. And again, if you haven't already, if you are interested in the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, look at the link down in the description and you can follow all the rules for that and take part. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, share, blah 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 blah. God, I'm fucking tired.